Hello everyone, this is the Droll Troll. I don't know why I find that amusing, but I do. Okay, so my first video is going to be on the Poirot movies that are being performed by Kenneth Branagh. I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, it's hard to say. I doubt anyone knows how to pronounce his name correctly. That's just the way it is when you have a name like that. So here we go. I don't think I can really touch upon A Haunting in Venice without giving a brief description of my view concerning Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. Murder on the Orient Express is based on an Agatha Christie book, which, quite frankly, is an excellent book. It's been a long time since I've read it, but it's probably one of the most iconic books that she ever wrote, with good reason. Beautiful storyline, intriguing ending, just one of the best. The problem with Murder on the Orient Express as a storyline, once you know what the ending is, that's it. From that point on, any adaptation, and you're going to be like, do I really want to sit here for 2 hours and watch a show that I know the ending of? I hate to say it, because this is usually a sign of a real bad film. Production values are excellent. The train, the costumes, the scenery, the cinematography, all excellent. And if I'm being truthful, the performances were decent. It doesn't do anything new. It really doesn't change that story in any profound way that makes me want to watch it over again. It's sort of eh. And that is the biggest problem with that movie. It's just eh. What a stinker that film is. Again, they chose one of the most iconic, memorable endings of one of her books ever, and they just did such a lousy job on it. Again, production values are great. I love the cruise ship, the steam engine, I forget what they're called, steamboat, there you go. On the Nile, the scenery was spectacular. And even the acting was, not bad. It was decent. But that's all I can say for it. That story was almost dead on any of the other adaptations you've ever seen, only they had to add a bunch of DEI stuff to it. Race and gender swap, which honestly you can't even watch a movie these days without that kind of stuff in it. But there's a way to do it that it's not glaring and annoying, and they didn't do it. What really makes this film stink, so that it's not even watchable, is it consistently breaks continuity over and over and over again. Have you ever tried to watch a movie with someone that has to use the bathroom every 10 or 15 minutes? They're constantly getting up, and if it's at home, oh, pause it for me, will you? And then they shoot up to the bathroom, you're like sitting there, you were in the middle of watching a show, now you're having to wait for someone to go do their thing, and then, let's click it back on again. That's breaking continuity. That's stopping the show in order to be able to deal with either a thought or a bathroom break, or food, whatever it is, and it can destroy the cinematic experience of what it can do. So when your characters or your plot or your scenes or the dialogue, when that breaks continuity over and over again, you're constantly sitting there trying to get into the cinematic experience just to have something happen in the film that you don't believe, that doesn't make sense, that's confused, or it's incongruent, or the chronology is wrong. I mean, whatever the problem is, it shoots you out of the film, and you're sitting there going, oh, wait a second, no way that would ever happen. Every time that does that, it's broken continuity. And Death on the Nile does it over and over and over again. Basically, every time this interracial couple is in a scene, it breaks continuity. Because first of all, if there was actual chemistry between these two people, you might be able to just let it slide and say, well, yeah, they're extreme opposites, but there's definitely something there. There's a spark. But no. I doubt these actors could give a crap about each other. And no matter how hard they tried, they could not pull it off. It was clear they didn't care for each other. And yet they were trying to play a couple. It didn't work. Flat out didn't work. The whole time I'm thinking, God, I mean, if it were me and I was the director, I'd stop the show right there and say, okay, you either need to find some way to express actual chemistry, or we're going to have to replace one or both of you. The other problem you ran into with this film, and this is a big one I find with whodunits in general, big problem. When you're watching a whodunit, you have two basic kinds, in my opinion. You have the kind where the murder has already happened and the detective's just trying to figure out who did it. Then you have the kind where the murderer is active. He is literally, or she, continues to kill people throughout the show for whatever reason. They haven't stopped. They're in the middle of it. Now that adds another layer of suspense, but it also presents some problems for a show like Poirot. In this case, on the Death on the Nile. If I were the killer, seriously, in a movie like Death on the Nile, I wouldn't waste my time killing all these other people. There's no point. Until you kill the detective that has a 99.9% chance of success, it doesn't matter if you kill everybody else. But if you knew a guy comes in who's considered the world's greatest detective ever, and he solves all of the crimes, never had one he didn't solve, do you think for 1 second these killers who are confined on a boat wouldn't put that guy down? The other problem that the film had, oddly enough, was casting Armie Hammer. Now, I liked Armie Hammer at one point, but this happens sometimes. I don't think actors or actresses realize this, but when your personal life becomes so controversial, so in your face in the public view, that people can't look at you without seeing you. That's a problem when you're a moviegoer and you want to watch a show and be drawn into a cinematic experience, because they can't look at you and see you as a character. They just see you as the person that you are. Armie Hammer, I cannot look at this guy without thinking, oh, here's the cannibal that wanted to carve up his girlfriend for a midday snack. Just can't do it. Every time he opens his mouth, he's like, I imagine him with a hacksaw, giving a crazy grin or something, or a knife. Hey, darling, time for dinner. I hate to say it, I'll never be able to watch Armie Hammer in a movie again and not think this. So this leads me to my overall impression of Death on the Nile. Basically, my advice would be to skip it. Truly, skip it. If you don't want to miss the gap between watching Murder on the Orient Express and watching the new one, Haunting in Venice, my advice is actually to get the older one. Either the TV show version of Death on the Nile, which is excellent with David Suchet, or the one with Peter Ustinov is decent. It's not bad. So there you have it. Don't watch the modern version, get one of the older ones, and then move on to A Haunting in Venice. So this brings me to A Haunting in Venice, where I think they really nailed it. This is where they they figured out the problem with Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. First of all, you don't pick a story that's so iconic that everybody knows the ending of. Okay? You don't lace it with a bunch of characters that nobody likes. You create suspense, which there is no suspense in a movie, particularly a whodunit, if you know the ending. None. It's virtually impossible to make a show like that suspenseful, even with your little action sequences, Bottom line is A Haunting in Venice is actually worth watching. Why? I'll say it again, production values were amazing. What I liked about this one in particular is there was almost a suggestion of the supernatural. And I love movies or books that have elements of the supernatural. Love them. That's the reason why I read Dresden Files, or why I liked Harry Potter series, why I've been reading these books and watching those kind of movies. I love the Supernatural TV show to a certain point, because the supernatural element in something makes it more interesting to me, because it creates a whole world view that you can do some things with and make it a little more flexible. And The Haunting in Venice has this really strong sense that it's not just a murder mystery, that there might be something else going on as well. There are a few issues with it, which I want to touch upon, but I don't think they're major. It's not the kind of thing that most people would notice or care about. One of the issues, I always have a problem whenever a book or a movie has this character that has become inserted into a fairly important role, and they turn out to be some kind of betrayer or betrayer, right? I mean, it's not that easy becoming a traitor to begin with, and to be able to get into a role where you're actually able to do that is fairly, very difficult. There's a reason why spies usually die before they get to that point, because it's really hard to convince people that you're above board. Particularly nowadays, nobody buys it. Everybody seems like these days is dishonest in some respect. Everybody's looking over their shoulder wondering, is this guy for real or not? I mean, nobody believes your teachers, nobody believes your politicians. That was interesting. So, there is a character in this that falls in that category, and that absolutely breaks continuity. It does. It did for me. Because I don't buy that. There's no way this guy ended up in that position under the circumstances. Someone would have seen through it. The rest of the story, I don't want any spoilers here, but you have a kind of an interesting blend of changes, which I'm fine with. In fact, I think if you don't make some changes and adapt the source material in unique ways, more often than not, you're going to end up with a film that stinks. Because cinematic adaptations of a book have different requirements. It's just the way it is. And they handle the supernatural elements beautifully. Because the whole time you're thinking in your mind, is this really supernatural? Or is it something else? And that's exactly what you want in a supernatural film. You want that sort of suggestion without there being a real definitive answer for it. In fact, that's why the X-Files succeeded for so long. I mean, it was season after season of, did this actually happen? Do I believe it? Are there really aliens? Are there really this or that? And it works. And it works beautifully in a show that you expect to be real, but you also want something a little bit more Halloween themed. I love Halloween themed stuff. Absolutely love it. Based on the Agatha Christie book Halloween Party, I guess is the name of it. I forget. It's been a long time since I've read it. So if you like Halloween, you like supernaturals, you like whodunits, you're a fan of Poirot, Haunting in Venice hits every single point. I highly recommend it. And they've managed to not lace it with a bunch of DEI stuff that you're going to hate. Surprisingly, they managed to do a film that I liked, and the whole time I was engaged. I didn't fall asleep once, not twice, not thrice. So there you have it. One more thing before I go. It really helps when you subscribe and leave comments. You know, if you want to ask me questions, you want to share your opinion, I'd love to hear what you have to say about the movie, about Agatha Christie, the books, anything in that line. Okay? So please, click like, click subscribe. If you don't like it, that's your prerogative too. Thank you very much for watching The Droll Troll. Bye.